Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast, and I'm super excited for this episode. Why? Because as the weeks go on, we're going to dig a little bit deeper as to what the podcasting world is all about. And so as we're still talking about guesting, I really want to talk about something that's really important, and that is how to create the perfect podcast media kit. Now, I've had so many different questions around this, like what it is, how it works, why we need them, what are the components, why do we need these certain components, all sorts of different questions. And there's so much information out there. Again, people are getting confused. And so I want to just settle this right now. I want to give you guys clarity. And so I'm going to be answering all of these questions, including going in depth as to all the different components that are required in a podcast media kit, and also giving you explanation as to why they are needed. Okay. But before we get into the nitty gritty of all of that, first of all, let's start off with the basic questions. And the first question is, what is a podcast media kit? And so a podcast media kit is basically where everything is being packaged in one place, and it's got all of your promotional materials in there about you, your brand, your company, organization, the cause that you are driven by, like all these things about you and your company that's needed is going to be all centralized in one place where people from the media, members of the media can actually have access to. Okay, so that's first of all what a podcast media kit is. All your promotional materials in there. We are going to go through what all of those components are later on down the line. Now, the next thing is, well, why do you want one? Well, it's really, really important for both you and the media. Now, don't forget, podcasting is still a media platform. Okay. And so this is also included, is not just PR. Now, the reason why having your perfect podcast media kit is so important is because it will actually save both you and the podcast host so much time. Why? Because first of all, when it comes to the host, now they've got so many things going on, right? They've probably got so many different recordings, a lot of people booked in their calendar. There is so much that happens in the background to get everything organized for their episodes each week, or however often they're actually putting out episodes. And so it does really mean that they're not just looking at your content. They're not just looking at how much value you can give to their audience, but they're actually seeing how quick, how effective you actually work. Okay. And so getting the information to them as quickly as possible is totally going to put you in their good graces. They're going to give you a gold star. Okay. And so having this information already set up is going to help them out as well as you, because when it comes to you actually applying to be on different podcasters have different processes. They require different information. There's a lot of differences with every single podcast out there. And so you want to make sure that you have all this information in one place. So it's just a matter of copy and pasting. Okay, because when they do require this information, a lot of them may ask for some information like your logo, some may not. But if you've got all the information in one place, it's just a matter of drag and drop or copy and pasting. And so you're not wasting so much time flapping around trying to put all this information together, fill out the application, send all the information that's required to them, because we all know applications and getting all this information together does require a lot of time. Okay, but if you're putting in so much time in filling out applications and getting the podcast host all the information that they require for their show, then that just means that you're wasting time already when you can actually be sending out more applications to be on more podcasts rather than just flapping around looking for all this information that you know you have on your laptop or your computer somewhere, but you have no idea where. Okay, so it's going to save you so much time as well. Also, as entrepreneurs, right, we tend to pivot. And some of us pivot a lot more than others. And so the business that you had maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right, may not be the business that you're working on now. And so the business name may have changed. The branding may have changed. The way you serve your clients may have all changed. And so you don't want to leave it to the host to go searching and looking for the information that they need to promote you, because what could happen here is they might find the information that you had 2 years ago, the business that you had 2 years ago, and use that logo, use that branding, use that information rather than it being relevant to what you're doing today. And so if you just give the information to the podcast host beforehand, right, not only will it save them time, it will give you a gold star. Like I said, you'll be in their good graces because you've given all that information to them, but also you know that it's going to be relevant information and not the wrong one. Trust me, guys, I have been down this road. It's happened to me when a podcaster has actually gone and done their research. And then when it came to actually recording the episode, they were asking me questions that wasn't relevant to my business. I didn't do that anymore. And so I learned a really big lesson, and that was to make sure that you give the podcast host all the information about you, your business, what you do right now beforehand, because it makes it easier for both of us, and there's no complications and there's no hurt feelings. Okay. And that's why it's important. Now, what is actually involved? What's required in creating a perfect podcast media kit? Now, there's several different things. In fact, there's seven. There's 7 different components that you want to put together in your perfect media kit. Now, like I said earlier, every podcast host, every show has their own processes. Now, it doesn't mean that every single one that you're going to apply to are going to require all of these different components. But the idea is to have them all in one place, making sure you got all of these components together in case they do ask. So you know where to go, where it is, and also when it comes to sending it all out, or just actually give them your entire media kit, because sometimes that can happen too. They might just say, can you send us a link to your entire media kit? And they will pick and choose what information that they would need in order to promote your episode. Okay. And so we want to make sure that everything is in there. So we're going to go through step by step as to what each of these components are and what is actually required in quite a bit of depth. Okay, so make sure you have your pens and papers out, because this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a lot of information here. And so I'm going to go through the basic stuff, and then we're going to get to the really big things that need to be in a media kit. And so first of all, we already mentioned this about your branding. Okay, you want to make sure that your logos are in there, but you want to have the different types. And what I mean by that is you want to have a black and white version of your logo, and you want to have a colored version of your logo that has all your branding in there. The reason for this is because you never know what type of colors or the promotional materials that the host is using. And so if they're using black and white, you want to make sure you have a black and white version. Okay, because if they're using a black background and your logo is black, well, it's not going to be seen. Okay, if they're using a white background and your logo is white, it's not going to be seen either. And so you want to have these different variations so the podcast host can actually pick which one would actually work with whatever colors they're using. Okay, and so having a colored version and a black and white version totally works. So one that's all black, one that's all white, and then another one that's actually branded to your colors. And you want to make sure that's all in one folder. And you want to make sure that every single one of these logos have a transparency background, okay? So it's not in a white box or a black box or a purple box, that they can literally just take the logo and place it wherever they need to place it on their promotional materials, okay? So make sure it's transparency background as well. Now, the second thing is social media links and your website links. So I want you to start making a list of all the social media places that you're on. Okay, so it might be Facebook, it might be Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, that all the different places that you are active on. Now, that's the key word, guys. You gotta be active on these platforms. Now, I don't want you to go ahead and let them know of a platform that you are on, that you may have an account on, but you got no content, or you don't use it, or you haven't put content on there for years or even months. Okay, I just want you to highlight the areas that you are being featured on, that you put content up there pretty often, because the host is going to go and do the homework. They're going to go and check it out. And if you give them an account that you're not active on, they don't see any relevant information, or they see that you haven't been on there for a long while, or you haven't posted anything, then they're going to pretty much think that you're irrelevant. And that's not the point of you getting on podcasts. You want to make sure that if you are on Facebook and you're active on your personal page, then give them that link, right? If you are, if you have a business page on Facebook, then you want to add that link in there too. If you have a group, you want to add that. If you're on Instagram, right, LinkedIn, only the ones that you are active on, do you want to start making a list? And you want to add the links in here as well, okay? So what I would normally do is I will just put a title like Facebook personal page and put the link, right? Facebook group and put the link, right? And you want to put all of this in one place as well, okay? And don't forget your website. So your business website, you don't want to forget about that. You want to add all of this information, your website link in there as well. And again, add the title, your business website. Now, if you have a podcast too, you might want to add that in there. There's nothing wrong with adding your podcast link in there as well, so they can go and check that out. Now, the reason why you want to do this is, again, you want to make it easy for the host when they do their research. And believe me, they will do their research before they say yes to you, like before they have you on, before they will record your episode, because again, they want to make sure that you are who you say you are, that you are actually doing and preaching what you say that you do. And they want to make sure that you are absolutely relevant, you're ethical, right, in what you do before they have you on their show. So by, again, giving them all this information, you're allowing them to make it a lot easier to do their own research behind you. And also, a lot of them do like to do the research because they're actually collecting questions they want to ask you on the episode. So if they see a post that you put up, they may even ask about it. Okay, so that's why you want to make sure that you have relevant information, you've got relevant posts on all the links that you're actually providing to these hosts. Okay, so you can start going ahead and making a list of all the different social media links and including your podcast and your business website link in there as well. Now, the third thing you want to do is you want to start putting together some of your headshots. Now, I know some of you are like, oh my goodness, I don't have any headshots. I don't have any good ones. Well, if you don't have any professional ones, the idea is to make sure that you go and create some professional headshots. Okay, you are going to need a few of these. I want to say a few. 2 to 4 headshots is what is required. Okay, and again, I'm going to give you the reasons why and the things to do and what not to do when it comes to having your headshots there. Now, you want to make sure it's professional. Okay, because again, they're going to be using your headshots to promote your episode, to promote you and your business on all the materials that are going to be going out, right? That's going to be going out onto their network, to their social media, to their email list, on the newsletter, wherever it may be. And if it is a video format, it will also be on YouTube too. So you want to make sure that you're represented the right way, the way you want to be represented and seen by others, because this is a potential for you of getting leads and getting clients. So how do you want them to see you? Right, think about that. Which means, guys, and I'm only going to go through all of this because it has happened to me. I have seen it. And in fact, guys, I got to tell you this. I've had a few people that have applied to be on my podcast and have sent me some really shocking headshots. Okay, so I'm going to go through the do's and the don'ts right now. And so when you're sending a professional headshot, right? Please, please, please make sure you have no family member with you, right? It's just you yourself. Although I know some of you love your pets, you totally adore them and they do look adorable in these photos. But as a headshot, it's not a good idea to have your cute kitten, your cat, your dog, your horse, whatever it may be as part of their headshot. You want to keep that out. Okay, so no family members, no pets in there. And please, guys, please, I know how awesome it is to take photos of food, but taking photo of you eating spaghetti or some sort of food and putting that as a headshot is not professional. Okay, it may look cute and may be funny for social media, but to have in a podcast media kit, it is not going to go down very well. Okay, so the idea is just you in a professional manner. Usually it's from your head to your shoulders. Okay, or sometimes what I've seen people do, and you can get away with this sometimes, is have a full length of you, but again, it's got to be professional. Okay, so guys, it might be a suit. Ladies, it might be like some sort of office wear, a jacket, a blazer on top, something again that looks professional. Okay, so you can actually have 2 to 4 different versions of you, different outfits. It could be you standing up, sitting down, but making sure that again, it is professional and you are on this headshot on your own with no one else and no other pets with you. Okay, and you want to make sure as well that if you are taking photos and you're going to use it as a headshot, that your background is clear, right? You've got no dirty laundry, you've got no dirty dishes behind you, you know, you've got no kind of finger paintings on the walls that your kids are doing in the background while you're taking this photo, because some of you might be wanting to take a selfie at home so you can use it as a headshot, and that's perfectly fine if you don't want to get a professional photographer, but just make sure that you're aware of your background as well, because I have seen those too. And again, it's shocking. All right. So just a heads up there. Now, the 4th component. Now, that is called the intro page. Now, this is something that you want to kind of make sure the podcast host, when they read it, it's intriguing, is interesting, and that it even pulls them closer to saying yes, right? Because they've read something about you and they're like, oh my goodness, I need to have this person on the show because this is going to be an awesome topic to talk about. Okay, so what you want to do here is just bullet point 5 main achievements that you've had, right? But you want to kind of keep it interesting, keep it exciting, right? So, for example, on my intro page, I've mentioned how I'm an award-winning author, but also I've got a letter from the Queen of England congratulating me on my book. Okay, now that is something that people want to talk about. I also added in there that in my previous life, right, when I was in corporate, that I was actually a police officer. Right. And a lot of people want to talk about that too, because that's a big transition from going to corporate as a police officer to actually doing podcasting. Okay. So I really want you to think about some of the things that's happened to you to add in this intro page that's going to cause intrigue, excitement, and cause the podcast host to say yes rather than no, because that's what we're going for here. We want those yeses. Okay. So make a list, 5 bullet points of some of your achievements, awards. It could be places that you've been featured on, could be Forbes, CBS, wherever it may be. You could have done a TED talk. I really want you to think about and brainstorm some of the things that have happened to you that maybe have just happened to you, right? Something that is shocking, but exciting. It's not going to be something like, I traveled to, I don't know, Australia in a family vacation. I'm not talking about things like that. Things that have happened to you in business, right? That where you've transformed. It could be a client result that you got. Anything that sets you apart from everybody else. You want to make sure that you stand out. Okay, that's the thing here. You got to stand out. And also, what I want you to add at the bottom of this, once you've got your 5 bullet points, is how you want to be announced on the podcast, right? What is your title? So, for example, again, the title that I put is, my name is Kay Sooth, and I'm CEO and founder of Make Your Mark Podcast Agency, as well as the host of Make Your Mark Podcast. Okay. Now, yours doesn't have to be that long. It can be a lot shorter. right? So I want you to think about how you want to be represented, announced when you actually start getting on these shows. Okay, so now the fifth item, and that is the bio. I know, the dreaded bio that everybody hates to write. Okay, now you can use ChatGPT to do this, but remember, guys, and I always mention this, and I'm always going to mention this, is don't just copy and paste what AI have created for you. Okay, you always want to make tweaks. You want to make sure that you humanize it and use your voice. So you can use AI, and that's not a problem, but make sure you do actually make the tweaks on there. Now, what I will suggest is, if you want to write this, right, you can brainstorm, you can template it out, so you can actually feed the AI this information so it can create it. But I would always say reverse engineer it. Right. And what that means is sometimes, again, podcast shows out there have the different processes, and some of them may ask for a long bio, a short bio, a medium bio. And so I would always suggest to have 3 different versions of your bio. Okay. You want to have one that's a long bio that's about 400 words. Okay. Now, this is very in-depth, very detailed information of the points that you want to highlight about yourself and your business. Okay. And then you want to create a 100-word bio. And what you do is you reverse engineer this. And so you just pull out the information that you've put into the 400-word bio that will then consist of the 100-word bio and put in there, right? Just some of the highlights. Okay. And so you want to add that in your 100-word bio. You also want to create a 50-word bio, very short, to the point, right? And again, what I will do is take a look at your 100-word bio, right? You put the highlights in there from the 400-word bio. And now what you want to do is just take some of the highlights from your 100-word bio and place them in your 50-word bio. Okay. So what you're doing here is you're just giving them the highlights, okay? The straight to the point things in the shorter ones, in the 50-word bio. In the 100-word bio, you're just giving them a little bit more information. You might have a few more things highlighted in there. And then in the 400-word bio, this is very detailed, where you have all of your highlights. You may explain some of them. You might have bullet points. You might have various different things in your bio. But you always want to highlight the main things in every single one of these versions. Okay. Now, again, I know it sounds like a lot of work, but if you get this set up right now, then when it comes to applying for all these different podcasts, it's going to become very easy, because it's going to be a matter of copy and pasting. And so if you have it all there and you're happy with your bio, right, then you can start applying to various different ones, and it's going to actually save you time, where you can actually put the time in applying to a lot more podcasts than actually scrambling and trying to create all these versions of a bio. This way, if you have them all there, it's going to be so much quicker for you, and you're not going to be stressing out about it. Or even procrastinating because it's so much work to do and you're on a time limit. It's all going to be in one place. And in addition to that, I'm going to give you a pro tip. When you write your bio, you always write it in the third person. Okay, I'm going to say that again. When you write your bio, you want to write your bio in the third person, which means you never use the word I. Okay, take I out of your vocabulary when you're writing a bio. And so you always want to use your name. So for example, in my bio, I say, Kay Sutha is the CEO of Make Your Mark Podcast Agency. Okay. You always want to use your name, and you don't ever want to use the word I. Remember, you want to represent yourself and write the bio as a third person. Now, the 6th component of this perfect podcast media kit is the speaker one sheet. That's right. Now, I know a lot of you have heard about it. And so the biggest mistake I see people doing, right, even though it says it in the name itself, is they might create 2 or 3 page speaker one sheet. Guys, it's got it in the name. Speaker one sheet. Right? Stick to one sheet, right? Make sure that you have all the relevant information in one sheet. Now, the reason why I say that, I know a lot of you probably done a lot of different things, experiences, been featured everywhere. You're like, how am I going to get it all in one place? Well, very much like your bio, you want to make sure you highlight all the relevant information, all the big achievements, right? And have that all in one sheet. And the reason for that is because, again, guys, podcasters are getting so many different applications coming in every single day. They don't have the time to sift through pages and pages and pages of your speaker one sheet. Right? They don't want to do that. They want to have a quick read. They want to make sure that their eyes take them to certain information, that they can pull the information out very quickly. They get the idea of who you are, what you do on a very quick read. They're just going to be skimming through it. Okay. And so a lot of the time, if you are sending pages and pages of a speaker one sheet, it's going to be put to one side, or even worse, at the end of the pile. And they're going to be like, you know what, when I get to it, I'll get to it. But they've got all this other applications, all these other speaker one sheets that are a lot quicker that they can go through. And so they're going to put them at the top of their pile. And you don't want that to happen. And so you want to create a one sheet speaker one page. Okay. One A4 side. Don't go ahead and start using double-sided and think, oh, I can cheat. I'm going to use one A4, but I'm going to use both sides. No, that's still 2 pages. Okay, so one side of an A4 page is what is a speaker one sheet. So stick with that. And so you're probably thinking, okay, so what actually goes into a speaker one sheet? And so you want to make sure you pick one of your headshots to go on there. You want one of your short bio. So it might be the 50-word bio or the 100-word bio. You also want to put at least 3 different talk topics on there that you wish to talk about, as well as the description for each of those talk topics as well. You want to put on there anywhere that you have been featured in media. Maybe you've done a TEDx talk. You want to put that, your contact information, your telephone number, email. Some people even put their address, or you can put your website on there. You may also want to put a company logo on there, but most importantly, make sure when you're designing your speaker one sheet that is consistent to your branding, right? That you've got your branding colors. And so making sure that you know your brand colors, you know the codes for them is really important as well. So I'll also advise you to put that in one place as well, because it'll make things really easy, especially when you start creating things for your business, for social media, that you have that all in one place. And so if you know your different colors, then it's going to be really easy for you to start designing your speaker one sheet and making sure it's consistent with your branding, because what you want to do here, branding is really important, is that when people see your colors, you want to make sure that they instantly think of you, think of your business, what you do, right? So making sure you're consistent and showing up the right way, the way you want to for you and your business is super, super important, especially as you're getting booked on podcasts. Okay, and so the 7th component, now you're probably thinking, okay, I've got all of this information now, right? What do I do with it? Where do I put it? So I would always put things in Google Drive. I love Google Drive, right? And so I will create a folder, call it Media Kit, and then put folders in this folder. So you have folders within the folder that say logos, that say bio, that say headshots, right? All the different components already gone through. So all of them have their own separate folders. Okay, so it's very easy to find everything when it's needed. And if you don't use Google Drive, that's fine. You might use Dropbox, right? You might use something else. Wherever you actually store all of your information, wherever you like to put all the different kind of elements that you have for your business in one place where it's easy for you, where you have access to it, that's what you use. Right, I would say Google Drive, but if you want to use Dropbox, then you go ahead and do that. But if you want to use someplace else, then go ahead and do that. But just make sure that it is backed up. Okay, that is in a place that you can kind of access it anywhere, just in case if you have to use a different device. If it's not on that particular device, then you're going to get stuck. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's in a place where you have a backup, that you can access it anywhere, no matter what device that you're on. Because if someone says, yes, I want you to be on my podcast and I need you to send X, Y, and Z, you want to be able to send that information to them ASAP, without any delay. Because again, when you are getting on podcasts, it is about building that relationship. Okay, and we did mention this in previous episodes already. And so you don't want to put a foot wrong right from the beginning when you're trying to build this relationship with a podcast host. And so being efficient and making sure that you are prepared is so, so important when you are starting to apply on different podcasts. Okay, now guys, that is everything that I want to share with you. And in fact, if you want to know more, I have actually created something for all of you guys here that are listening. And if you want to dig in a little bit deeper and want to know a little bit more about the foundations of being a perfect guest, then I've actually created the perfect downloadable for you that you can actually start implementing right now and getting results. And so if you go to getbookedonpodcast.com, Get Booked on Podcast, that's podcast.com, then you will find a downloadable that will give you the 3 ultimate secrets to being the sought after guest, where podcast hosts are going to be chasing you down, right? Rather than you having to do your research and searching for different podcasts, you want to start working smarter, not harder. And so here I've put together a document on the things that you can start doing to making yourself stand out, making sure that the host says yes, and not only that, but actually gets hosts speaking about you to other podcast hosts, where they're now chasing you down and sending you other referrals for you to be on other people's show. Now, there is a way to do that, and my secrets here are going to show you how you can do that now. So if you go to getbookedonpodcast.com, you'll be able to find that. And also, if you've missed it, then make sure you scroll down to the show notes, because all the links will be in there as well. So until next episode, guys, make sure you start getting your perfect podcast media kit on point. Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.